Hello and welcome to this exciting episode of the Terror Express. With us, I have an actor and director and writer and producer, a man of many talents, Mr. Ryan James. Mr. Ryan James, how are you?
I'm good, Jason. Thank you for
I
having me on today.
I promise I will not call you Mr. through the entire episode. I'll just call you Ryan, or it's
Ryan
fine with
works.
you. I'll just
Yeah.
call you Ryan. All right, perfect. Now, listeners, Ryan has done some films that you've seen him in. He was in the Terrifier 2, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. He has a movie coming out this 6th, Friday, October 6th,
Friday.
and I'm really excited about that. It's a sequel to a staple of a movie from 1983, which is considered the holy grail of all 80s slasher films to us fans, the Mutilator sequel, Mutilator 2. And I let that cat out of the bag. I am so sorry, Ryan. That was one that you were supposed to say.
No, no, actually,
Sometimes I get a little too excited.
I just had a moment where I felt
Yeah.
like you were more zine than me because that's like there's like I don't want to spoil it because I obviously I can't say too much about the movie because I haven't seen
Uh-huh.
it yet, but like there are moments where I felt like I know you haven't seen it yet, but that zine is that's you're
That's
literally like pulling dialogue from my body of like
wonderful.
about it being the holy grail. I was like, oh man, I felt a little
That,
bit of zine in there coming
that
out of me. I was like, oh
that
wow.
is a fantastic compliment. And we're gonna get back a little bit to Zine. Also, let's talk about Zine now since he's been brought up. Tell us about Zine and what role does he play within the Mutilator universe?
Yeah, so it's funny because this finally happened. We've been trying to make a day happen for the interview for a while, and this is the first like time I've actually talked about Mutilator 2
Hmm.
on a podcast, and I told you as well. I was like, I don't know how much I can say because Buddy's been keeping this thing under like lock and key for years. I mean, honestly, it's like 40 years in the making. And
Yeah,
if you pay attention to the documentaries and stuff, you can kind of see where he's dancing around what he feels like the idea is going to be, and it's evolved so much over the years. But I would catch like every single like interview that you would do or anybody who's talked to Buddy about it. So I've been like, oh, okay, it's almost like canon for me where I was like, he said the thing
yes,
that I could finally
yes,
start to say a little bit of.
yes.
But as far as Zine's role, so Buddy has mentioned that the film has a little bit more of a meta approach than the original. And so it takes place where there's a filming of almost like a legacy sequel, reboot, what have you, of the Mutilator. And so you have a lot of the returning cast for that. And I'm obviously not a member of the original. I wasn't born when the original came out. But it's Zine is a character who is pretty much like the biggest Mutilator fan on the planet. And
Nice.
he's the editor of the Gore Times online only edition. So he's there at the I believe Buddy's mentioned that it takes place around the filming and the wrap party
Hmm.
of the filming. And so Zine is there because this is like his dream come true, his mecca, to be able to actually be where a sequel's being filmed 40 years later, and he's trying everything he can to be around that Mutilator magic. And I guess without like spoiling anything, I would say that obviously he's a big horror fan, diehard horror fan, but lives and dies by like the Mutilator franchise property. And but he's also looking for love. Like he's a horror nerd with a heart of gold. And I kind of equated it to where like he just wishes that he could find someone who looks at him the way that he looks at the Mutilator movies, and to be loved as a horror fan, which is funny because like even just myself, like you try and have like relationships with people and they don't like totally love the horror genre. There's kind of like well, how much do I love this person if they don't love,
Right, right.
it's like it's tough because
Yes.
it's like it's been like, oh, it's fine, and I actually showed like ex-girlfriends the Mutilator movies, and they enjoyed it and whatnot, but it was like it's one of those things where it's like, well, let's, how much of a deal breaker is that? And for Zine, it's very much a deal breaker. But so he's at the place where like it's his dream come true to be there.
Yeah.
So those are kind of his quests, if you will.
Now, does Zine have, and Buddy talked about this, so I'm this is fair game. Does Zine have any interactions with the returning original cast from the 1983 Mutilator? I know he's mentioned that some of the original cast came back. Do you
We
interact
shared
with them?
we share scenes together, yes.
Fantastic.
Without spoiling anything, I can say that.
Correct. Right. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to Fridays. Like I want to call off to stay in my house in this bubble so that time will move faster just so I can watch it. So I'm
Yeah.
now you speak of Zine. I can hear the excitement of Zine and the character that he played. Are there any other characters that you had a great time playing? What's been your favorite role to date or most rewarding?
Um, well, I guess role is kind of I could look at it a couple different ways because I've
Hmm.
mostly since the pandemic been doing a lot of producing and acting. Whereas like especially, because I moved out to LA to pursue acting full time, but at the time I was also had at least one producing feature under my belt, which was the Kevin Smith biopic Shooting Clerks. And so I was kind of juggling that and then also acting at the same time and booked a whole ton of roles and was working regularly. And then the pandemic happened and all of those productions shut down and none of them have ever come back that I got cast
Oh,
in.
that
So it
pandemic
was,
messed everything up.
yeah, that darn
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, what a slap in the ass.
Yeah, but
Uh,
like as far as role goes, I mean, Zine's a lot of fun, and that was one I can talk about too. That was pretty much the whole pandemic I was campaigning for. But I would say like up to that point, and I haven't seen Mutilator 2 by the time this has been recorded. So at the premiere, I wanted to make sure it's like I see so many of the movies that I work on and also edit like 8,000 times. So like to be surprised by something is very difficult for me. So I wasn't there for like the entire month of filming. So like I'm excited to see a lot of the scenes that I wasn't a part of. And kind of have that be something special as a viewer and a horror fan
yeah.
and just a fan of the property. And so, but I would say, because I do a lot of producing, I would say, Shooting Clerks, honestly, as a producer, was my favorite role probably in film so far, because that was also, even just for me, in kind of like a zine way, was a dream come true. Where it's, I grew up watching Kevin Smith movies, and we'd be here for 100 years if I told you how many times Kevin has personally changed my life. The reason why I came out to LA in the first place was because of Kevin. And so that honestly was a dream come true and has always been the gift that's kept on giving. But I will say there is a project that I was actually shooting the day I left for Atlantic Beach to shoot as Zine. It's called Supermance, and it's a superhero romance film that's been very near and dear to my heart. I play a time turner called Turner, and I wrote and directed, produced, and acted and edited that film. It was my UCF Film School thesis film, and it's a, like I said, a superhero romance that takes place on a planet which everybody's superhuman, and it's kind of a Romeo and Juliet story where there's capes and masks, and there's
Nice.
like an astronomical holiday where everyone loses their powers. It's kind of the opposite of Halloween, where like everybody dresses up for Halloween. Well, everyone dresses down and they take their capes and masks off, and there's like peace for one day. And you see the interactions of these characters change and their dynamics and social structures over that time. And I was shooting a scene for the feature treatment of it because I had 3 years worth of long hair that I grew for it, and it was so cool. It's such a cool role because you get to see this character over 5 or 6 different slices of his life, and I did it where I cut my hair back in different stages until I was completely shaved. And when I knew I was going to be cutting my hair for Mutilator 2, because Buddy was like, there's this picture you got like the day you moved to LA, and it's me with my glasses and my short hair high and tight. And he was like, that's the look I want. And I'm, grew my hair out the whole pandemic. And I'm just like, is this the one? Like, is this the one that we cut our hair for? And I was like, and he was right. Like it was right for the character. It was that look that he needed. And I was actually excited because I've always just
Yeah.
had a rule where I'm like, I'm gonna grow my hair until someone pays me to cut it. If I got a role good enough, I'm gonna go for it. And loved playing Zine, so I ended up shooting the one final scene for Superman's with my hair super long. Got on a plane, arrived there, and we cut it on set. There's actually a time lapse. I don't know if they'll throw it out there, but I shot a whole bunch of behind the scenes things called behind the zines. So it's a
Nice.
little bit of my
That's great.
experience on the Mutilator 2 set. So a little bit of life imitating art and whatnot. And I did do a time lapse where they, cut my hair off for it. And there's a great little bit that we had with Terry Kaiser. We had a little bit of a Dark Circles film reunion because Damien Maffei, Terry Kaiser, and myself worked on a film called Dark Circles that we shot during the pandemic in Connecticut. That's like a psychological thriller film. We're really excited to be wrapping up and releasing here into this coming year. But Terry Kaiser would always lovingly just call me long hair. Long hair, and there he is, long hair. And then I sat down in the chair, and Cheyenne, who was the hairstylist, was cut my hair. She was like, "All right, you ready?" And I was just like, do you know where Terry Kaiser? Do you know where he's like hanging out at? Do you know where like his because we were all staying at the motel that Buddy's still owns to this day, where they shot
Yeah.
Mutilator film. And I was like, do you know where he's staying at? Because I haven't seen him yet, and I feel like I gotta say goodbye as long hair. It doesn't feel right. And they were like, yeah, I think he's over at the cottage at the end, and went and found him. And he was like, long hair, come on over. And I was like, I gotta go cut the long hair, but I wanted to say goodbye as long hair. And he was like, that means so much. Thank you so much for coming over. And I cut it. And the second he saw me, I was haircut. So he's been calling me haircut for like the last
Haircut. That's perfect. That's perfect.
But yeah, no, I would say there's a long answer to answer that question. Get a little bit of tidbits, but
Hey, I love the tidbits. That's why I'm here. I'm like you said, I'm a bit of a zine. I think it's appropriate to say, instead of I'm a Mutilator fanboy, I think I'm just gonna coin I'm a zine. Listeners
zine.
or fans of the Mutilator are all zines. Let's be zines because
Totally.
I mean, and it's such a great name. It just has a great ring to it.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned producing and directing and editing and all these different things here. You've done such a multitude of different things and so many facets. What's been your favorite?
Acting, hands down. That's without a doubt, when you look at everything, and it's like I love creating, I love coming up with ideas. I've gotten so far down the producing rabbit hole, which these are projects that I all love and people I love working with. So, I keep talking myself into it, where I just want to help everybody make great projects and get together with these people and have these little slumber party just creating like aspects and whatnot. And so it's really been a lot of fun doing that. But I have so many ideas that I just in my brain I have to shut them off, or I have to put them away into like a stories folder for when you're in the boardroom and they're like, yeah, that idea sucks. You got anything else? And I'm like, yeah. And then there's like 4,000 ideas. But I do love that idea of writing and I love world building. And because I see how I can picture it, I know how to direct it. And, because I have so much fun creating it, I want to play a part in it. And then I want to craft how it's edited and put together. And because I'm doing a little bit of everything, I realized I've always been a producer my whole life. And I was like, maybe this is my calling. But for me personally, there's nothing that beats acting for me. I love the idea of escapism, especially when it comes to movie watching, being a film fan. It's therapeutic for me. Just being able to shut off my all the busyness and all the madness of filmmaking, because there are so many voices and so many, it's such a demanding job that like, and I can just be in one person in one place or on a different planet or whatever it is. It's like there was something about coming back to that role for Zine that I was, it was such a refresher, because I had just been producing the entire pandemic and doing very little acting, and came back to a role that again I was very much campaigning for, because I think it was February 2020, so a month before lockdown. I saw the Mutilator 2 casting call up on Actors Access, and I'm telling you, like, as a guy who's like, a horror nerd and also somebody who is scouring projects and looking for things to submit to, when I saw Mutilator 2, I was like, how is this real?
So did
And
I.
I saw Buddy Cooper attached to it. I was like, okay, like this all kind of checks out. And I saw all these roles that were listed. Some of them didn't have character names yet. They were crew positions for the characters, the crew character positions, grip, a PA, and a first AD. But then there was Zine. And I was like, I saw that it was, a horror nerd with a heart of gold, loves Fangoria, like diehard fan of the Mutilator. And I was like, that was the first role that I was attracted. Without a doubt, I was like, that's my pie in the sky role to go for. And I even sent out, like, eventually I sent an email out. I don't know if it was to Buddy at the time or to one of the producers, but it was along the lines of like, I would love to play these roles, starting with Zine #1, but I'd be willing to do any of these roles. And then also, I don't even need to play a role. I'll show up, I'll get coffee, I'll be an assistant, I'll do literally whatever it takes, because like, just to be around it, like I'll shadow, I'll intern. Like, I don't, part of me is like, it needs to be a job and I got a tree leg job, but other parts where I'm just like, this is such a cool experience and opportunity. I got to go for it. And then pandemic happened and everything kind of shut down and got delayed. So every 6 months, I would send Buddy an email. I would send Ann, the producer, an email and just kind of like check in, like, hey, is now a good time to follow up on this? Is this still happening? Blah, 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 blah. And I kid you not, it was 2 years to the day that the producer reached out and was like, hey, that time you've been waiting for, it's now. Can you get me your updated reel and resume and all that stuff? Pulled an all-nighter, submitted for it, and the next morning I got the offer for Zine.
Awesome.
And I knew, and they
That's
said,
awesome.
I got you in mind for 2 roles. I don't know if she said that Zine was one of them, but it was just I was like, okay, I'm going for it. And they were like, we want you as Zine. And I was like, that's it. Like, that was amazing. It was such a great feeling to have that after the entire pandemic. Beforehand, one of the last things I wanted to do was Mutilator 2, everything shutting down, and campaigning for it and it's funny because, like, again, like Damien Maffei, I think our very first conversation we had on the phone when we started producing together over the pandemic, he was like, yeah, they reached out to me for Mutilator 2. And and I was just like, oh, you have something to do with Mutilator 2? How do I get on that or whatever? And and then we made a couple movies together. By that time, this is like the third project we ended up working on together. And by that point, I was like, can you still can you get a put a recommendation in there, whatever. And I kid you not, he was like, listen, I've already tried to get one of our mutual friends on, and he's like it's like I've got no pull, I've got no power here, it didn't work, so you're on your own. And I was just like, okay, I'm on my own. Like, I got to keep going for this. I got a gun for this or whatever. I don't have like an in. And after getting it, at that point, I was just like, okay, I feel really good. So it just came in like a really good time in my life where I needed kind of a palate cleanser. And so Zine was very much a very fun vacation for me on the beach.
Did we do a lot of filming for the Mutilator 2? I would imagine before the pandemic, during, after. When was the principal photography?
Was May of last year.
Okay, so in the pandemic, but toward the end of it, when it was kind of everything was normalizing.
Yeah, like people were going. I mean, we
we're
went
getting
and
used
saw
to
like
it.
Doctor Strange 2 while
Yeah.
we were there. Like
Yeah.
it, you know,
That's cool.
everything had very much opened up, and it was nice being able to shoot outdoors.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of everything we shot was outdoors and by the beach, and so it's like, you know, it wasn't such a scary experience as like when we were first shooting and we were like, let's roll on this film. We could all die tomorrow type situation, you know.
Right. No, that, yeah, no, I get it. Did you, I filmed in New Mexico. I was on location filming in 2019 pre-pandemic. And I get what I want to ask you is when I left, I was told by the key grip said you're gonna be depressed when you leave because it's it's like a family that you become when you're on set for so long. When you finish filming, do you ever get depressed or like say I got hit with it. I didn't think I would, and I was like, what is this? Why am I sad? I'm not a sad person. I missed everyone.
Um, I definitely miss it more when I'm an actor.
Yeah,
As a producer, I'm usually grind down into a fine powder, so the powder doesn't have emotions. But you know, there's definitely that aspect of every film I've been on, I've made new friends and
yeah,
connections and had such a great time. But I'm always trying to, like, as producer, I do, you know, even just for screenings, I do so much like event management. I'm
yeah,
the type of guy on my birthday that, like, I want to make sure that everyone's having the best my birthday ever. And by the end of it, I'm like the person who like didn't get drunk and didn't have like the most best blowout time. I'm just like, are you having a good time? Like, okay, great. Just making sure, you know, let's do BTS of all of this. You know, it's like I'm kind of wired that way. But for Mutilator 2, it was very much where you know, because we did like rap party for that, which was a lot of
yeah,
fun. You know, and being around friends that I'd done previous project with and making new friends with. You know, that was great. That was definitely one that, like, because you'll see when you see the film. I mean, the biggest like monologues in the movie are zines, and so it was like I really had to, you know, I was practicing for 5 months because I'm not a guy on the call sheet who you're just like he can just show up and do whatever he wants because of his name. It's like I have to, like, I'm the guy who like not everybody knows, and I have to prove myself kind of thing. And I didn't want to let anybody down and let Buddy down and whatnot, and let the fans of the franchise down. And so you know, I went in like full guns blazing, you know, totally, you know, wired in on my craft and didn't want to have too much fun per se. Like, I didn't want to like get together and do the little mini rap parties throughout the week of like, you know, end of the week shooting type of thing. It was very much like every day I'm training myself and I'm, you know, I'm here to work.
yeah.
And then by the end of the rap party, you know, the real rap party, I was like, okay, like it's a party at the beach. You know, it's like this has been such a great group of people, and so warm. And I would say it's the one set I've been on in a long time where like everyone from all the departments, you know, were very complimentary and very loving and
Nice.
very supporting. So I knew throughout doing the performance that you know, it was working, and that people were being affected by it. Whereas like
Yes.
as a producer, there's fires all over the place every single day, and they just want the fires over, and then it's like, okay, great, thank you for, you know, doing your job. But like there's just something about being able to do a performance, and I don't, you know, it's not something that I absolutely need, but it was something where I was like, wow, people are really resonating with something that I'm
Yeah.
doing here, and that was so rewarding for me.
And I think when you have all these different um you have your director, your producers, you have everyone behind the scenes, cast and crew, and when they mesh well, like you said, it shows in the film. It just gives it that little bit more of a shine that you sense, and it just the quality is just a little bit better because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you mentioned the Mutilator too. I'm curious about the Mutilator the first time. I picture Zine watching it at 3 years old, becoming this fanboy. But for you, Ryan, when was the first time you ever saw the original Mutilator, and what impression did it make on you?
Yeah, I definitely saw it when I was still living in Florida. I was in Orlando. So it was definitely post film school. You're probably like 2000, maybe even like 2017 or 18. It wasn't too long ago. But obviously I'd been around the film a lot. Like I knew the cover art really well, and you know, it was always a box. But you know, growing up as a kid, going to the video store, I would study box art, you know, for years, and kind of just be like,
Yes.
oh, I know about it, and I know, I know more of it than I had seen. But like, you know, obviously you as well would know just as well as Zine that the movie was a very difficult physical media copy to get your hands on. Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so, and I don't even know, and I should, if it was ever released on DVD, or
There
if it was
is
foreign.
there's a German DVD. I don't think it's official. I don't think it's
It's like
licensed. I
the
think it's yeah, and it says it's the unrated version. I was fortunate enough to find it at a mom and pop video store back in the 80s, maybe early 90s, the unrated VHS copy, which I still have.
yeah,
And then when it was released on Blu-ray and DVD, I remember Buddy made that announcement and it kept getting pushed back and getting pushed back. But I pre-ordered it and 2 years later I finally got my hands on it. It was like that was bigger than any Christmas gift that I ever got as a
right.
child, was getting that in my hands. But you mentioned VHS box art. That is a thing, and I think the Mutilator is one of the best box arts that I've seen. And 80s horror, I'm just it's nostalgia for me. But yeah, it's absolutely magical.
I love that story in like the documentary, which obviously they studied very,
Hmm.
very well. The that marketing company that came in and kind of changed the whole fall break art to to that mutilator art.
Yes,
And
yes,
yeah, you just look at it and it just like it pulls something out of you. Either reels you in or it pushes you away. And you know, so that's definitely something that like you know your audience is already kind of built in if they've already, you know, bought into Mutilator. I mean, we've another film that's actually premiering the same night as Mutilator 2 in Vegas, Joe Bob's Jamboree, called Cannibal Comedian. And it's like if you already got a ticket to Cannibal Comedian, there's nothing that you're gonna see that's gonna be like I'm offended or like that was too much for me. It's just
right.
like you that was already giving you the clue as to what you're getting into.
Yes,
um
absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, yeah, that the and you know what else too? I definitely owned the film, and you asked me like what I thought about it. I mean, I just knew about it so long. I specifically remember watching it, going, I've always needed to see this. I've got to watch it. I've got to have an opinion on it. And it was just one of those like I finally had the time, which is very rare to say now, to sit down and watch something I hadn't seen before that I always
Hmm.
knew that I needed to see. And so I just remember watching it and being like, oh, this is fun, you know, because it's got that like a little bit of that horror comedy party, you know, vibe to it. And I just loved Bill Hitchcock in the film, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah, so do I.
that energy I knew was so fun. And when it was funny because when I met Bill on the first day, I was like, hey, sorry in advance if I'm just gonna be like your shadow, because I'm there's something where as I went through the script, I kind of was like, oh, there's not, you know, because Bill's in the movie, but there's not really that like Ralph energy of like that fun, quirky, goofy character kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, oh, wait a minute, is that me? Am I the guy? You know, and so you know, there were a couple times where I had these awakenings on set where I'd tell people who my character was, and they'd give me an assessment of like, "Oh, you're the ABC character or whatever," and I'm like, "Wait, I'm the ABC character?" Like, I'm like, "Wait, I was thinking of like a different kind of thing or whatever." But there was that energy of like, I want it to be fun and silly, and I want it to be playful, and I want a lot of like horror fans to be able to see themselves in it. And so I told Bill, I was like, I'm not going to do your character thing, but like there's that energy of the role that you fulfilled in Mutilator that I very much want to channel. So like I
Hmm.
might ask you questions or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And what was cool was Bill was also not only playing Bill in the movie, but also, you know, like doing props on the set. So he was there every single day and he would be checking in with me with all of my props as well, and he would come up to me after as he grab or hand, you know, hand me a prop or grab it back or whatever and just be like, it's working, like what you're doing is really good. And then he'd pop off and I'd just be like, okay, thanks Phil, you know, like there was just
Nice.
that was so much fun. And but yeah, I definitely the first thing I got, like you said, like tracking down that Arrow, you know, Blu-ray release
Yes.
with the slip cover, tracking
Yes.
that down on eBay was such a pain pre the movie. But once I got the role as Zine, man, I was spending not frivolous money, but I was spending I definitely was budgeting for the Zine role, and I tracked down that uncut, VHS. I tracked down the uncut Laserdisc. I tracked down I was on set filming, and I found that Japanese VHS release, and I won the bidding while on set. Like, I was so in the Zine mode that I was like, Zine has to have this, and it shipped, back. It wasn't going to get to, Atlantic Beach in time. So it was like, by the time I got home, it was there waiting for me. But that's how in the zone I was. And fun fact, you'll be able to see those props are in the movie. I
Wonderful.
actually have
Nice.
my own VHS and Laserdisc that I bought to get into character
Yeah.
on my person throughout the film. And then at the end of the film, had the whole cast and crew from the original that showed up and cameoed. Not everybody's, I don't think, been announced yet, but once you see the film, and you're definitely going to be able to point out all
Oh,
the
yes. Yes.
getting those were so cool. And then Buddy, of course, just like has everything. Like, he still has the original one sheets from the Mutilator, like, just in an office with just like all this old school Mutilator merch, and just like, was able to sign one of those for me. And I've got that framed next to my Mutilator 2 poster. It's just like, it was such a just a cool, bit
Yeah.
of
Yes.
life. Like, the
Yeah.
paper, they don't make the paper like
No,
that
they
anymore on
don't.
the one
No,
sheet. Like,
no, yeah, it's kind of like the old LPs where they don't make those like that any longer either.
yeah.
I remember the first time I saw the Mutilator, I was 11 or 12,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to stop it when Ben Moore was killed, the cop. He had just got his head chopped off, and my aunt shut it off and said, "You gotta go to bed, you gotta go to school tomorrow." So I had to wait all the next day to finish it, but I knew I had magic in my hand. And I have had since then a long-standing 40-year crush on Connie Rogers. I think there's something about Connie as Sue in this movie that she her death is my one go-to where I'm like, hey, did you ever see this? This is like one of the most shocking ones. But um I that's why I was leaning when I found out that there was going to be a part two. But he now when I had Buddy on, he did mention that Jack Chatham showed up on set. He did, and I'm not going to ask you this. This is our listeners going to have to wait till Friday to find out the answer to this. He may or may not have been on film to be a cameo in the movie. We don't know. I'm not going to ask Ryan. Listeners, you're just going to have to wait till the movie comes out and find out. I don't know the answer either, so I'm going to wait and find that out as well. But is there anything else that you can tell us about the Mutilator 2 that fans would be excited to learn that we haven't heard yet?
Um, it's if there's anything I haven't said, it's one of those things of like, oh, let me text Buddy real quick. Like, let me see what I could say. I guess one of the really cool things that I could say, because it's within arm's reach, is like I said, like, it's not, I mean, the fact that Buddy's back for the second one, is just such a really just like, I don't want to say it's unheard of, because obviously directors return for sequels, but just like after this amount of time, the fact
Yes.
that this has still been, like, I can resonate with that. Like I said, like I've been circling a project that I really want to keep evolving into something, because it's always it's in the back of my mind, is like, I feel like I could reach more people, or turn this into a feature. It's just a character that I feel like we haven't finished that story yet. And the fact that Buddy's back and he still has more stories to tell around the Mutilator,
Hmm.
um, it's that's what's so fun about it. And the fact that you are getting that, it's straight from the horse's hook. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. It's through his lens and through his knowledge and his history. It's not someone going like, oh, let me go. I mean, I almost gave away a thing, but like, it's like, it's not the aspect of Buddy. This will be funny when we rewatch it. When, like, oh, I need to go call the guy who started the original, because he's the very distant name only executive producer type. who's got to answer this question here. He's there every single day. And one of the first day that we were able to sit down after I got the haircut and the beard cut and everything, and we went, and had coffee together, because I was just like, do you mind if I just pick your brain about the script and Zine, and like how, because I was like, I have questions, and Buddy was so kind and cordial enough to be like, let's go sit down, let's have a chat, let's grab coffee, and ask me every single question you have, not only about the Mutilator, about how you feel about the film, about how Zine feels about this film, about, it's just, he was so warm and welcome and open to it. And I got all that stuff on behind the scenes. So it's like
Awesome.
that was just so cool. And he would let me play. Very rarely did he ever come over and give me a note or a correction or, a specific, just like delivery note, which, obviously were all right. They were all they were all, again, like it's not about just my interpretation of it, but he let me play with the role so much and let me do, just go to town with it. But like I said, he's got those props and all those, old school, just like he's got the 8x10s, like he's got everything, but he has the vinyl of the Fall Break song. And
I love that song.
The original ones. And you could, if you go find Buddy at a con, like he'll bring this stuff out, but like I didn't know at the time. And the fact that he gave Zine one of the vinyl to even use as a prop and be able to talk about and just show that he's that guy. He is this deep cuts. And that what was so cool was, obviously I got to bring my props home, and Buddy got such a kick out of the fact that I did bring some of those things, and that probably hadn't readily seen in a bit. And then when I got I moved from Sherman Oaks to Hollywood, you hope that the mail forwarding is going to work out okay, and it usually never does, really. But I just had moved, and that week my previous building manager was like, you have this package from Cooper, and they were kind enough not to just throw it away or whatever, that they were like, do you want to come back and pick it up, because the mail forwarding just hadn't gone through yet or whatever. And I went back, and he sent me all of my props, Zine's props that weren't my own. I also brought a lot of my own wardrobe and whatnot. Here's a fun fact: the bow tie that is Zine's bow tie. I don't even think I've ever told this or posted about it or anything.
Hey, it's exclusive.
It's bow tie guy's bow tie from Terrifier 2.
Nice. So it's another cameo.
I really staunchly, as I think about that, I staunchly am like, they are not the same character. I thought that, where I was like, I think the same character, because it's Terrifier 2, Mutilator 2. There's similar titles, and there's obviously, if you know where to dig on Screen Rant, there's they point out the Art the Clown connection in Mutilator 2. And but like I was very adamant about, like, those aren't the same character. Like, Zine is not as cool as Bowtie Guy. Like, Zine doesn't know how to leave the house for anything other than something horror related or like a filming of the Mutilator or something. But I was like, but he had sent me all of that stuff, like the selfie stick you see in there and the satchel, which Bill acquired for the film, which is so cool. Gave me a really sweet handwritten letter, and he included the vinyl of Fall Break, and it says on it, like, used on screen in Mutilator 2, Buddy Cooper. Like, and that to me was so cool, that he knew that I would get like a kick out of that. And it's just like, it's so cool. I mean, it's like, I don't even know if I knew. I've never played it, but I don't know if I knew until just this moment that he signed the inside too, which is so cool.
Oh, so that's fantastic.
But just
what
the fact that, like, he didn't just sign it. He had to write the detail, like the nerdy details of, like, this is a used on-screen prop or whatever, And
so you're just now for the first time noticing that he wrote that on there?
I knew that he wrote it on the sleeve, but it's
Yeah.
been in with the pro. Like I really
Okay.
I honestly, it's been in the satchel the whole time, which is like hung up on the Mutilator wall where I have the posters and the framed laser disc, and like in the pouches, the VHS and the call sheets and some of the sides from my scenes and stuff. And then the vinyl was sticking out of it, but I've never like busted it out and thrown it on to play it. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm keeping this all together. Please don't
Yeah.
bump into this or whatever, you know.
Yeah. You don't want to take that out of the.
Yeah,
No,
only
that's
this year have I had it all,
yeah.
like my little Mutilator, I don't want to say shrine, but just like my memorabilia from and memories from the set
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
put up. But I've never actually pulled that out to see that he signed it on the inside too. What a
That's
dope dude.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I do have a pair of pants from the original Mutilator that Connie wore. I'm mentioning Connie again. Connie, if you ever listen to this episode, I just want to say thank you and hello. Um, thank you for being Sue, making Sue what she is. Anyway, um, oh wow, I just see it. Connie just totally. I'm sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought with that one. But now we know
I'm in competition. I'm in
you're con
Connie petition.
you are. I'm closer to her age. I have that on my side, but
Well, young at
you have
heart, you
but
can.
you have that gorgeous hair though. I can't compete with them. With my hairline and your hair, I don't know. Okay, this is the unveiling. This is the big um climax. I'm going to ask you this question. This is what we've been waiting for. Now we know it's coming out on Friday the 6th. Where will we be able to find it and watch it?
That is the world premiere at Joe Bob Briggs third annual World Drive-In Jamboree. I mean,
That
and what's so cool is him recently showing, the Mutilator on the last
yeah,
drive-in.
yeah,
I was always kind of hoping that was going to be the thing, and I heard rumblings that like, obviously Joe Bob kind of being involved in that way where he showed that they were possibly going to do something with Joe Bob in that sense, and it is just so cool to have it in that type of venue, because it's just like you just don't. First off, you like rarely. I mean, this rarely is just an understatement. Get a drive-in premiere. When you like really
yeah.
look, you see those old photos of like Mutilator in pieces on the marquee,
Hmm.
just like that. Like and by the way, that Mutilator billboard that Buddy still owns and featured in the movie, and Maffei and I took, did a little photo shoot in front of it. And there's a bunch of photos of it floating around. But like the fact that he still has that like Times Square billboard, that he owns that, like it's just like when you see that stuff, you're just like, man, what it would have been like to go see that movie in its uncut, unrated,
Yes,
original
yes,
presentation in its limited theatrical release. So having, obviously it's not a theatrical release, but just that it's so limited and niche, it's just the right amount of Mutilator magic there to have
yeah.
it premiere at Joe Bob's Drive-In right after they just screened it on the show. And I couldn't be more excited about that it just they haven't sold out yet. And I do believe that that's obviously part of the release strategy, is you just dump a movie on VOD or whatever. That's not the Mutilator. The
No.
Mutilator had to fight to get out there. Actually, not only did the Mutilator have to fight to get out there, fans now of the Mutilator had to fight to track the movie down. Because if you couldn't find that,
Yes,
even if you found the VHS and it was the edited version, you're still robbing yourself of that true original vision and thing that makes the
yes.
Mutilator the Mutilator. And
A
so
hundred percent. That is a hundred
fact
percent accurate.
the fact that
Yeah.
you can go out now and get,
Uh-huh.
to the drive-in and watch it there, is just like, that's the place to be, when everyone is going to see it for the very first time, Zine included. So, I tell you, if Zine were real, he would be there with bells and whistles on at the world premiere at the drive-in. And luckily
Oh,
in the way
yes.
he is. So yeah.
Yes, if Zine survives. And again, I'm not asking you. We're gonna have to wait and find out. But do you have any other projects or appearances or charities that you'd like to promote?
Oh boy, how much time do you got?
I
Because
I'm I am as free as you are. I have I don't want to hold you up, but I am here for as long as you need me to be.
This one's not going on the short episode, I'll tell you that. But no, I yes, also is an understatement. A lot of stuff that I've been cooking up, especially over the pandemic and even before that and after that. We're about to embark on a pretty wild, like 4-movie tour between the US and the UK, and just getting started. I'm putting together a thing called Oktoberfest. And so
Fun.
starting with Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree, we like I mentioned, one of the other 2 features, they had 2 features that won Joe Bob's Jamboree for the submission that are going to be awarded the Hubby Award, which is his Academy Award that's on an old hubcap that he's going to be awarding. And Cannibal Comedian is our horror comedy from director Sean Heights, that I produced, edited, and acted in with him. And we were making that all throughout the pandemic. Another one that, like, as I was trying to submit for Mutilator 2 when it first went up in 2020, that same month I had submitted for Cannibal Comedian. And since then we've been working together. And Sean has a couple of movies you can check out, all kind of within the horror comedy realm. His last being Big Top Evil, which is kind of like a cannibal clown movie with Bill Moseley and Jay LaRose. And that is one of the other winners that's going to be playing right before Mutilator 2. So we're so excited, for that. And that is very much a straight up horror comedy, like 90s Jim Carrey meets the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh,
About
that
and
sounds
if you're a
excellent.
fan of horror comedy, like
Oh,
the
yeah.
Mutilator,
It's the perfect marriage.
and it really is. It's so much fun. It's a completely unique movie about a cannibal living out in the desert amongst other cannibals, who's just like, I just want to follow my dreams and just be a stand-up comedy, do pursue stand-up comedy. And so he takes his cannibal shtick and his lifestyle and his outfit and his bloody apron and body parts and weapons, and he goes out on the road and he does prop comedy, shtick comedy, and all cannibal puns. And people are just eating it up because they think it's fake,
Yeah.
but it's actual victims. And we
They're
actually
eating it
have
up.
they are eating it up.
Yeah, they're eating it
They
up.
see the puns already started.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
But we do have Alan Danziger and Ed Neal, who play Jerry the driver from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, as well as the hitchhiker. And so they are both involved with Cannibal Comedian. And so we were excited that Joe Bob was great enough to have us be involved with that. That movie's going on tour. We have dates for that are kicking off after that. I also have 2 other Kevin Smith related projects, one of which I'm a producer, editor, and actor in, which is Shooting Clerks. It's the Kevin Smith biopic. That all kind of it's very much docudrama. You have actors playing the real people, and then we have 30 of the original cast and crew of the View Askew and Jay and Silent Bob movies that play new roles to help tell the story. And so that is so it follows Kevin's journey all through growing up, going to film school, meeting all of his friends who he ends up making clerks with on maxed out credit cards, back in the 90s, and creates a cult classic. And so that one we just showed with Kevin at his SModcastle cinemas in New Jersey. We did one screening out here in LA, and we're about to do a few more screenings of that in the UK, in the US as well. And then I'm also an associate producer on Sav Rogers' film Chasing Amy, which is a documentary that kind of goes and deep dives down on the cultural impact of Kevin Smith's Chasing Amy, as well as the life-saving impact it had on the director Sav Rogers, and kind of also looks into kind of its controversial placement in the 90s, rom-com LGBTQ cinema. And so, if you're a fan of Chasing Amy, lot of great stories that have, and as like a Kevin Smith lifelong fan, like that is something that, like, when I saw the footage, I was just like, oh my, like it was just mind blowing stuff I'd never seen on a documentary before. And just seeing it through Sav's eyes is something that's been incredible. And we opened Tribeca Film Festival with that. We're about to play BFI London Film Festival as well in a couple weekends. And so those are the 4 projects that we have, coming out, that are on tour right now. And I will personally, after the 6th, which obviously the cast and crew of both Mutilator 2 and the original Mutilator, as well as Cannibal Comedian, will be present at Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In Jamboree on Friday the 6th. Then after that, I will be at the Buffalo International Film Festival on the Sunday, October 8th for Chasing Amy. On the 12th, Chasing Amy will be the opening night film at Kevin Smith's SModcastle Film Festival, as well as on Friday the 13th at Kevin Smith's Film Festival.
It's always a good date.
Yeah, I mean, we get to show Cannibal Comedian on Friday the 13th at Kevin Smith's Film Festival. It's like, again, again, I mentioned it before. It's the gift that keeps on giving, and that connection has always been just really super cool. The day after that, on the 14th, we'll have Chasing Amy at BFI London Film Festival on the 14th and the 15th in the UK. Wow. If you're international, come check it out. We're working on some Shooting Clerks dates out there as well, but we'll be back at the US on the 19th. October 19th is my birthday. We're going to be showing Cannibal Comedian at the Tampa Theater, which is a 1,300 seater in Tampa, in my home city. So we're gonna be doing that on my birthday on the 19th. We're hitting up Cannibal Comedian at Spooky Empire Film Festival in Orlando on the 27th. Chasing Amy will be at Outshine Film Festival in Fort Lauderdale on the 28th. Shooting Clerks and Cannibal Comedian all play on the same day at the Orlando Film Festival on the 28th. I'm going to be at every single one. I don't even want to show you my flight itinerary. It's like every 5 minutes I got to run to get to a different plane and go to the thing and go to the screening. And then on Halloween, we will be showing Cannibal Comedian at Orlando Film Festival. And then we'll be in Sarasota for a double features of Shooting Clerks and Cannibal Comedian at Cineworld Film Festival, November 4th and November 11th, double features of both of those. Check it out. You can follow all of those online, Chasing Amy Doc, at Shooting Clerks, at Cannibal Comedian, and then, of course, at Mutilator 2 if you want to check out those dates. And you can find me on at ryanjames.mov on Instagram, or just search Ryan James on Twitter and Facebook, and you'll find my face doing a thing.
And Ryan, if you want to send me any or all of those links, I'll put them here in the description so that listeners can have access right here on Terror Express. They can find all of those things and follow along and join when and where possible, which I highly encourage, because these all sound like something you want to be a part of in any way that you can. And so go be there, support these, and check them out, because wow, when do you find time to breathe? You are really hopping.
Breathing's not in the budget. We don't have
not in the budget. Wow.
It's funny because I never get the breathe question. I always get the sleep question, but I've never gotten the breathe question.
No.
So. And I didn't breathe pretty much through any of that. So
you just have to wait to sleep to breathe.
Hey, wait till you see some of Zine's monologues. You'll ask the same question. Because my very first one was 4 pages long. So that, if that gives you any indicator as to, you'll see a little bit of, that was a little zine that came out there of just information dump. And I can't wait until the movie comes out and you see it, and we could actually talk in more of a spoiler discussion for it. But I'm sure we'll have to wait until it's available for the public consumption.
Yes, I'm going to consume as much of that as possible. Now, we know that there's the SAG-AFTRA strike going on. Has this strike had any effect at all on any negative impact on the Mutilator 2 or any delay on its release date?
Well, first off, very much stand behind the SAG-AFTRA strike. And definitely it has been very tough as a, working actor in LA, where, I very much was working every single week on union shoots that are run with SAG regulations. SAG pretty much saves my life and allows me to be able to eat out here. I'm not in the union, but I very much do support that. But luckily for Mutilator 2, it is not a project that was made with the AMPTP. So we are able to promote the film and keep pushing with the film. I'm not so sure that'd be more of a producer's or director's question about, any sort of impact on the release. But it is very tough. I do know movies that are not AMPTP related, and SAG actors still have a tough time even trying to promote them, because they don't even want to have to explain the difference of stuff that's AMPTP in just a post. It gets to, you have to put so many disclaimers and whatnot. I think I think that it's it's all for the right reasons. And
Yeah.
but I can't personally say it's affected the release of the film. But I will say that what I've noticed is while these studios are having a very tough time getting promotion and marketing and getting the actors to be able to promote their films and achieve a lot of that box office success, unless stuff was previously recorded. If you look at every single Saw X promo that's been out, it's always
Uh-huh.
Tobin previously recorded,
Yeah.
previously on. And so that's what's been, kind of, it's just like, you know, being able to have an opportunity to have indie releases during this time, because I can only imagine some actors who have been fighting their whole life to have,
Yeah.
a big blockbuster studio movie come out that's going to make their career and they can't say a word.
Yeah.
I
That's gotta
really
be
feel
rough.
I feel for him, but we'll
Yeah.
be able to talk about it after the strike is
Oh
resolved.
yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
comes to a
Yeah.
good agreement, and the fact that we have these indies that are out now and being able to tour with these indies that aren't related with that has kind of been a little a bit of a blessing in regards to that. So if
Yeah.
anything, I think the strike might even be helping films like Mutilator to be able to not be so
Right.
overcrowded by all the competition.
Competition. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes great sense. And I think that does fall in place really well. Now I'm a union steward where I work. I work in the medical field. I was a chief steward for many years, so I definitely support strike and the need for it, and I'm hoping that the new contracts are respectable and deserved. But you're right. I think this actually is good for the mutilator too, because like you said, it's definitely it opens a platform for more light to shine on it and not taken away from it with competition. Now, I do have some closing questions for you, and these are the questions that I ask all my guests toward the end of our episodes. And the first one is to I'm going to ask you if first off, hopefully you believe in the supernatural because that's one of the things that I do on this podcast. If not, I do have a backup question. But have you had a real supernatural experience that you can share with us, or maybe something that was just unexplainable?
I feel like I probably have a bunch and I've like buried them, but my go-to has been very recent, so it's easy for me to say yes. Like I told you, we were working on this film Dark Circles, which is a psychological thriller. And the first day, not even day one on set, it was like the day before or 2 days before the first day, we had to scout or do a tech scout on the main house that Damien Maffei, his character Martin, lives in, which is kind of this just like seedy. It's 100. It's not in the film. Is it like literally haunted? But it's definitely figuratively haunted. The house is really haunted. And I found that out from the jump. And one of the executive producers was like, we were going to be sleeping there at the time. Like, it's an indie. Like, we had to keep our locations like, pretty tight. And so we were like, yeah, there's rooms here, so you'll be staying here and the editor will be staying here and, blah, blah. And the lead actors were going to be staying there. And it was like, yeah, and then occasionally a ghost might come out and just be standing over your bed or in the hallway or whatever. But don't worry, like they're nice ghosts. Like they're there to just like check over you. It's just it's just an old man and a little kid or whatever. It's no big deal. And I was just like, I'm sorry, what? Like you're just talking about like nonchalant. It was the executive producer's grandparents' house. They grew up in it, seeing these ghosts. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. And then like right away, like went downstairs, took a photo, came back and was like, yeah, see, look at this little orb. Like it's just, right there. I just saw it. And I was just like, yeah, no, thank you. And then like right after that, I was hearing like noises from upstairs. And then I went outside and I was on the phone with the makeup artist, like, them coming into town and just being like, yeah, and the house is haunted. I'm not a big fan of it or whatever. All of a sudden I heard from like the basement, because it was like one of those like the old like basement doors from the outside. I just heard, and I was just like, "Yep, I'm staying in the hotel. Hotel, we got one for the hotel, please. Thank you." And yeah, no, I was not about it. And yeah, that wasn't the only experience all throughout. And but after that, I was like, yeah, no. And then like the producers, like sister or cousin, like showed up on set one day and was just like totally nonchalant, like, yeah, it's just the old guy and the little girl, and they're, I'm telling you, they're nice. They're just looking after you. And I was like, the fact that y'all are just like totally okay with just like
Uh-huh.
talking about this, I was like, no, 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 no. Honestly, like it's cool, but like I'm never gonna sleep already
Right.
producing an indie horror movie. I don't need the extra not sleep because of
Right.
the ghosts and goblins and ghouls
Not
hanging out.
everyone is desensitized to these things. Let's let them stay not desensitized. Just let them get the
Yeah,
hotel. Go get that hotel room. Now you know there's a lot of hotel ghosts. I mean, hence The Shining. So you're not always safe in a hotel either. There's still those things that can stand over your bed, and there's those things that are still in the basement, and those hotels are really haunted too. So
yeah,
you may not get such a nice entity in the hotel as you do with the old man and the little girl at the house.
yep, this is true.
But what is your biggest fear or your biggest phobia in life?
Oh, talk about being desensitized. It's funny, as a horror guy, I personally can't stand anything real blood in real life. I especially like anything like intravenous blood drawing,
Mm-hmm.
or just people like shooting up in movies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Can't do it. And when I like walk past a blood drive, I like my legs give out. Like it's just like, yeah, I
Wow.
know what's going on in there. I don't want anything to do with it. Like my when I was a kid, my mom grounded me from my Game Boy when like Pokemon had just come out, but she's also works in the medical field, so she's like, I want to get your blood tested, find out what your blood type is and what type of food is good for you, and blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, it's not gonna happen. I locked myself into the bathroom at the doctor's, and she
How
was
are
like,
you now?
what's that?
How are you now when you have
How am
to
I
give
now?
blood?
Still would never know. Nope, nope,
Nope.
nope,
Never. Nope.
nope,
Nope. Nope.
nope. No,
Mm-mm.
I had to get
Nope.
a physical, and the doctor had to prescribe me Xanax. The only time I've ever taken Xanax in my life was and I had to go to the hospital to get it drawn by the hospital. I didn't want to go to Quest. But yeah, no, I mean, especially when I was a kid, my mom was like, I'll give you your Game Boy back if you just get your blood taken. I was like, you can keep the thing. I don't want it. I'm keeping my blood.
You're not bribing me with not even a
No,
Game Boy.
I had to ship a package out, and I like cut myself on this.
Uh-huh.
I was here doing a self tape, and I literally was like, ah, ah! Like I like threw like a fit. Like I was like,
I
it was embarrassing.
I am one of those people. I pass out when they draw blood from me. I remember they
Oh,
to go in the arm 6 times. I told the nurse, I said, I'm feeling kind of funny. They said, oh, you're gonna be fine. I said, nope, I'm not gonna be. And I was out.
nope. I mean, like
Nope.
high school, they would like take your blood, and they'd be like, no, but we're gonna give you like pizza and Gatorade and stuff. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not taking your bribes.
You're
Like
not
it's always a
taking
bribe.
you're not taking the Game Boy. You're sure as hell not gonna take pizza.
Yeah. Nope.
Uh-uh.
And I love pizza. All right. Let's state that for the record.
It's a staple food.
Yeah.
Pizza and the Mutilator, there's no better combination.
Yeah.
What's a quirk of yours that you can share that your fans may not be aware of?
Quirk. Define quirk.
A funny little habit that if somebody saw you do it, they'd say, "Oh, that's cute," or "That's funny."
Um, I don't know. I guess the thing that I get people surprised about is it's a little weird, but I have a really long tongue. I'm not tongue tied. So
Uh-huh.
my I have a I anytime I will take a photo or do something silly with a tongue and to show it to the world.
Okay, yep,
It's
that's
really long. I don't need fans of that, but fans can know that about me. IMDb trivia. And yeah, that's one of those things that people will be like, I didn't know this about you, and I was like, when would you have been up in there that you need to
right,
know
right,
that? That's Nunya.
right, exactly.
So I don't know. That's one thing that people are just like, wow, well, that's impressive. I'm like, I was born and then it did the thing. So that was it. Yeah.
Uh, Last question I asked my guest here, and I didn't used to send this one out. This used to be asked on the spot. It can be a tough one, so that's why I've started sending it out. What would you wish for your legacy to be?
Ooh, legacy. That's a good one. As a producer, I think about death a lot. And no, I'm kidding.
As a human,
But
I think about it almost every day.
yeah, as a person who especially works in horror a lot. No,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, I do very much legacy. I just really want to entertain. I really want to just I live and die by filmmaking. Probably literally. Like I want to be making movies till like I'm in that like Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese age where I'm just like, yeah, I'm just on my deathbed, just like and cut. Like
Oh,
I really like Buddy, the fact that he's making Mutilator 2 because like that's also part of his legacy, and the fact that he still has more that he needs to tell is just like that's so cool. And I want to be doing that one day. Like I definitely want to be. I just love, and that's why I end up producing so much, is because I meet these people and they have these great ideas, they just don't know how to facilitate them, or they run into a wall or whatever. And I love even just being an ideas guy and be like, here's a bunch of stuff, and like you have that for free, and then it's like, no, please, we want you to be part of the team, and then it's just like, oh, okay, how much more? But like it's definitely something that like I don't know. I really I don't want to have like a traditional funeral. I just want people to like put my casket down at the bottom of like like an AMC theater. Not the big. It doesn't have to be the big house. It could just be one of the smaller
yeah.
ones. And then just like just play my movies. Like I just want people to like at the end of the day not be super sad, that they can just go and just jump into that escapism of like, I did what I loved my whole life. I don't know. It's funny. I did a visual of like Andy Kaufman's funeral at a in
Yeah.
Man, and I feel like like I feel like I would be the type to want to make a video or shoot a little movie that you only get to watch at like my wake.
You
Like
know,
that's the type of entertainment that I can't stop doing.
you and you're the first person I have ever met who wanted to have this kind of a funeral. I have always said when I die, this is what I want. I want my services to be held in a movie theater with my favorite movie hanging, playing up on the maybe a double feature, maybe my two favorite movies.
Maybe Mutilator,
And
Mutilator 2.
uh, okay, I wouldn't complain, but have tacos there. Taco Bell's my favorite fast food. Eat Taco Bell, watch my movies, and then go
It's the
home, and
party
that's it.
box.
The
Yeah.
party box, yes, of course. I mean, many party boxes. But that's always been my thing. So it's funny that your funeral and my funeral are the same exact thing.
Maybe we'll do
It's
like we'll
and
get
you,
a group rate, and we'll get like the auditoriums next to each other. People can get
yeah.
a
I
ticket
mean, I'm
and they go
hoping you and
there.
I don't die at the same time. That's one reason why I probably shouldn't be at your event on the 6th, because if something happens, then we're gonna have two auditoriums showing movies with fast food and
Yeah, it's a yeah, it's right, especially during October time. It's so busy at
uh-huh.
the movie
You got
theaters.
the Friday the 13th coming up
Yeah, yeah, they have and Halloween, so it's like
and
the prices
Halloween.
are going to be a little tough. But yeah, no, I don't know. There's just something about that where I really I'd like that, and maybe we will charge tickets that way we could pay, because funerals are so
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah, yes,
You
this
just
is
you
true.
buy a little just a you go to the matinee. Maybe we have two
Yeah,
shows, maybe a matinee evening show.
yeah, there
Um,
you go.
and yeah, no, but that's funny. I never really liked it. But that's it. I just want people to then go and watch my stuff and know I did what I love. I felt that when like Anton Yelchin passed away. And the first thing I wanted to
Yeah.
do was not
Oh,
only watch Anton Yelchin movies, but
so
also
tragic. Yes.
like just watch the stuff I never saw that I said I would go see. Like I immediately
Yeah.
went out and saw Burying the Ex, and it was really awkward because like his ex-girlfriend dies in the movie, and then he's watching movies really sad, surrounded by food, and I'm looking at myself and I'm just sad, surrounded by like Chinese food, and I'm just like, oh, I'm living the life of the character in this movie. But no, I have such a love and affection for that dude, and he was such a cool
Yeah.
guy and a cool actor. Like we were
Yes.
born in the same year, so it's like there's just like a kindred spirit type of thing that like I felt that like when he passed, and I was like, man, it's a bummer thing to think about, but I was like, I guess I hope somebody does that for me someday. Just surround themselves with sad leftover food and PBRs.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking for too. But no coffin. I want to be in an urn. That's you know. Anyway,
Oh, I'd
so
want I want like a mausoleum. I definitely
my,
want like
you
that.
know, I did for the longest time. I wanted to put in a vault in a wall for the longest time, but then I thought, it gets too hot in the summer in
Yeah.
Michigan. It gets too cold in the winter. I know we're not going to know, but
Yeah.
just
No, I played
I want,
many a Dracula, so like I would just like to be
yes,
in a coffin somewhere. So.
yes, yeah. I don't know. I just thought of, and I'm going to get really dark here, but the thought of the decay and the decomposition and the coffin, and it's just, I feel like
Hey, not
just
my
burn
monkeys,
me
not my
6 hours later.
circus. Just figure it
No,
out. Just
just
figure it out. You know, I give that to
yeah,
somebody else to worry about.
wrap me in a sheet and throw me under a tree.
Yeah, just wrap me in wraps and put me in a mummy and just bury me in Egypt somewhere. Good
In
to go.
Egypt.
Like, how did he die? Oh, he died a mummy. What? They
He,
still do
he,
that? Yeah, man. I guess you can. You
they
know,
got plans to go excavate him in 3,000 years, and we're gonna do some comparison photos
we're
together and
gonna
do a
make a new one.
documentary.
We're gonna, have Brendan Fraser come back out. He's gonna reprise his roles. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it'll be due out in the year 5300,
Hey,
somewhere
future
around there.
mummy movie? Come on.
Yeah,
Somebody's
that's a
write that
long
up there.
time in the planning. It's gonna be pretty darn epic.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on to the Terror Express. Send me all your links. I'm going to share them below so people can find all of your projects. And if Dark Circles is available, we'll make sure that's on there as well. Um, you can find me on Cameo. All funds raised are going to help animals in need, and it's less than the cost of a greeting card. So, um, again, Ryan, I this has been such a thrill being able to talk to you about Zine and the Mutilator too. And I hope I didn't fanboy out too much, especially when we were talking about Connie or anything else related to the
You're talking
Mutilator.
to the right guy about it.
Yes, I am. I feel I am. Yes. So thank you again so much for coming on here. I'm going to get this posted as soon as possible. The full length version will definitely be going out tomorrow. So, um, fans, if you're listening to this on any podcast streaming, you can watch the video exclusively on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check us out on all the major streaming platforms for podcasts. Ryan, have a great night, and thank you so much for coming on to the Terror Express.
Thank you so much, man.
It's been a treat. Yeah, have a good
Appreciate it.
evening.
Take care.